What's going on, family? How is everybody doing? Please get your libations. Please get whatever you need. Hopefully you have had more than enough time to get yourself situated. We're going to try to get right into it. But as usual, a little bit of housekeeping, family. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Make sure that you remember on the 1st of August, that is a Thursday, we will have a Monday, Wednesday show, then a Thursday book club show. That will be on the 1st. Of August. What is YouTube? What is going on with the feed? Look at these people. Anyway, family, please hit that like button. If you have not already hit that like button, please hit that like button for me. It would be important. Please go to subscribetobrown.com. If you want to donate, as always, you can go to donatebrown.com or patreon.com/ycarnell, all of that good stuff. Also, if you're new here for whatever reason, please hit that bell for me so that you get notifications. That is important. Please hit the bell for me. That is wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. You can follow me at @BreakingBrown on Twitter as well. Facebook is YCarnell. So please do all of that good stuff. It is appreciated by me. So, you all know I like to try to frame the conversations that we have. Good evening, family. Good evening. Fire shot. Anyway, I like to frame the conversations that we're having. And so I kind of wanted to do a continuation, hence the artwork. I kind of wanted to do a continuation from the last show because I felt like there were a lot of things that were not addressed. And then I saw Cobra pop into my Twitter, kind of like, why you worried about us and all this little stuff, and I felt like we kind of had to go back through and I even had people like Breaking Brown people like, kind of like, well, aren't you all fighting for the same thing? No, it's not the same thing. And I'm going to tell you why it's not the same thing as we go forward. I'm going to tell you why it's problematic. I'm going to bring all the other stuff that we've said. I've been saying all of this stuff for a very long time, and I'm going to try to bring it together to show you how the stuff that I've been talking about has been the very stuff that has caused the problem that we're having right now and the impediment that we're dealing with at this moment. So that's what I'm going to try to do as we have this conversation. Let me just make sure right here. So what I want to do, first of all, I want to bring up something really, really quick. Don't have to take a long time, but I want to bring up something really, really quickly. I don't know how many of you all saw this, but it was it was Sheila Jackson Lee, and let me just read this for you. She's the sponsor of HR 40. Sheila Jackson Lee, this just got on my nerves so bad, and that's part of the reason we're having this conversation. Sheila Jackson Lee and John Legend are excited about the first ever hearing in the United States Congress on H.R. 40, the legislation to establish a commission to study reparations. That hearing will be held on June 19th, 2019. A date that I already expressed the problem, because I already expressed why Antonio and I have a problem with that, because we have been scheduled to be somewhere else for a very long time. So I already expressed that. And Cobra confirmed in the Twitter feed that they're using their relationships to kind of funnel all of the energy, that the groundswell around it, to them. And so the conversation now is we were always the movement. We don't even know who y'all are. Y'all are not Pan-Africanist revolutionaries. We be in the streets. I ain't never seen you in the street. But okay, whatever. So one of my problems with this, and I have no problem with John Legend per se as an artist. I like him, in terms of what he does, we ordinary people, all of that kind of stuff. All of that, I have no problem with it. And this is not just an ADOS thing. Throughout America, we have this kind of celebrity worship thing. But there's a problem. I appreciate the fact that John Legend supports H.R. 40. That's great. It was great when Belafonte, supported the civil rights movement and everything like that. Oh, that's great. But, his support or approval is not pivotal, and that's not how you should be framing this conversation around John Legend and his support. Let me kind of tell you what should be happening. And if there's a movie, I would love for, ADOS get reparations. There's a movie about it. John Legend can sing the score. But he doesn't know anything about legislation or legislative policy. So that's about the best we're going to get. That's not saying that you can't have a conversation with the economists and stuff and support. But you two sitting there together in a room, for me, is a problem. Just by yourselves. I don't see nobody else around explaining nothing. And y'all both need stuff to be explained. Even you, Congresswoman. Because what has to happen is that the people who should be in that room right now are two main groups. I'm not saying there can't be other, but two main groups that I want to see. I want to see historians and economists. Because historians tell you the story and they paint it. They paint it in a way that anchors not only the reality of it, but get you invested in what actually happened. And this is the thing. And they came on the land and this happened this many times here. And it happened this many times here. And from slavery to here, this is what happened. And from convict leasing to here. And this is how many people were lynched here. Historians paint a picture. Right? They use history to give you that picture. Economists tell you how much that cost. So where you have historians who will tell you this is what happened to ADOS, you have economists say, and this is the price. This is the price that ADOS paid for what happened to them. You need that mix. But in our celebrity worship kind of culture, that's not what you necessarily have. There should be a call to arms of all economists. We need to have a discussion about what reparations is in terms of how much it's going to be worth. Because right now what we should be talking about is the number. All this other stuff, the debt is old. Let's talk about the number, and let's talk about the span. How many years are we going to take to pay it? Because the Congressional Budget Office is going to score it. How many years are we going to take to pay this debt off? Are you talking 10, 20, 30, 40? What is that time frame? These are the kinds of conversations that have to be had. I understand that y'all are at a gala or something, but I don't even know what the deal is. I don't even know why we have this celebrity culture where that's what we need. And see what ends up happening. I don't even like when celebrities are involved at all, because celebrities don't need HR 40 for the most part. Even black celebrities, you're not rich. You're not Charlize Theron rich, most of y'all, but you don't need HR 40 in your life. You're not living this kind of celebrity. What you have done is kind of catapulted and escape hatch yourself out of this life. So the enthusiasm that you have for it may be different. You need a groundswell of ADOS people, and you need economists, historians kind of informing that. And I mean, even now you could have some journalists talking about how this is still going on. Like segregation in schools and stuff. You could talk to them about recent stories. That's what you want to bring in. If you're going to have a commission, even if you're going to have a subcommittee, whatever, these are the kind of heavyweights that you have to bring in. Where it's like it's undeniable. It is absolutely undeniable, or else you're going to be picked apart. And the second problem that I really have with celebrity is whenever you bring a celebrity, I don't even care what kind of celebrity it is in the room. We have to get out of this. We even got this thing now where if something's happening and you don't like it, like you see it a lot with the LGBT community. Oh, we don't like this thing, and all the companies are not going to come. So yay to the good companies who say the word. I don't want to be run by companies. I don't want to be. Companies are run by rich people who are not us. For the most part, I don't want to be run by companies. I don't want to be run by celebrities. And we have a worship of celebrity culture. Now, for those of you who don't know what I've already said about what celebrity culture does, I'll just let you know. As we talk about this, just a 5-minute refresher course for those who may not have been here about what one of the big problems is. One of the big problems that we have all the time, is how we frame celebrities. Now, if you're going to have, this is why you talk about, this is celebrity life. If I'm going to have people in a room talking to Sheila Jackson Lee and talking to Congress, you're going to have journalists, you're going to have historians, you're going to have economists. You also need lawyers to talk about who has a legal claim and who doesn't. And the lawyers need to compare this to how the Jewish community did it and how you tie that knot and who you include and who you exclude. But when we talk about celebrities, the conversation that we have, even when we bring them into the room, the way that they take all the air out of the room, because you're talking about a group that really serves a purpose in this country of social engineering. And they take all of the intelligence out of it. What do you mean, Yvette? Well, how do we have Charlemagne? Charlemagne said we have to do for self. You got to understand, when he interviewed Kanye, he was talking about how, we just got to do for self. It's do for self or nothing, baby. We got to do for self. We all got to learn how to do for self. Now, this is the guy that you're allowing to have the reparations conversation. The guy who said we have to do for self. When he interviewed Kanye, this is what he said. See, we don't hold people accountable. And this kind of stuff is impossible if you don't hold people accountable. All I can say is do for self or suffer the consequences. Full interview with Kanye. That's the opposite of what we're talking about. We're not talking about do for self. We're talking about how do for self is not possible. Because the tools that were to be used for do for self were taken away from us. So those tools we don't have anymore, because it's always about timing and everything else that comes with it. That's what we're talking about. Right? That's not what we need. I don't know how else to express it. How does Charlemagne, who had a do for self conversation, come back in and reverse and start talking about reparations and what the debt is? Like, if I were interviewing him, I would say, listen, look at this dude. This dude just said there was no debt. He said, you got to do for self, and now he's here. No, this is clowning. This is clownish. You can't do that. You can't go and say one thing, then come back around and say the other thing. That's not how any of this works. And Charlemagne has said this for a very long time. Charlemagne has always said we got to do for self. How do we all not know that a person who says we have to do for self is not the person to have the reparations conversation? You obviously don't understand what's old. And there's a lot to not understand. Like, when you talk about not understanding, how does Sheila Jackson Lee not understand that you don't just pull this out your pocketbook? This is not, they both have gowns and suits and ties. This is not a meeting on HR 40. You pick this out of your pocket or your pocketbook and you told somebody to take a picture and you showed it to him and said, we want to have your support. I don't even know how people are doing politics. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what we're doing. I don't know what game we're playing at. But this isn't it. And the minute you bring celebrity, see what happens is, I don't care. I appreciate, that's great. But the minute you bring a bunch of celebrity in, it changes. The whole mood changes. It's like, kind of like, the best way I can describe it, you and I don't do movies. But you ever think about the set in a movie has to have a certain feel? It has to exude something, depending on if it's on a ranch, if it's a cowboy movie, if it's a sci-fi movie. Like, celebrities being there in and of themselves, especially in disproportionate numbers, make you believe that, look, it's all these rich people, all these black rich people. I don't know what these ADOS are complaining about. That's not even the optics that you want. These people who are listening to you don't know that these people are aberrations. And they make black people start saying, well, yeah, I don't even think we need that. I think we might be part of the problem. When a person asks you, like, if you got money, what you do with $10 million? What kinds of questions are these? Like, why are we not more serious people than to ask these kinds of questions? Well, I mean, if I gave you $10 million today, that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about what's happening in real life, in my real life, in your real life. Now, when you get $10 million, then let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. When that falls in your lap from the money fairy, then we can talk about it. Until then, no, I want to have a conversation about what we're going to do right now. See, bringing in celebrities makes this all kind of an aspirational conversation. So we all start to live from the point of aspiration as opposed to living from where we are right now. See, rich people don't live from the point of view of, well, what would happen if I get poor? Well, if I was poor, I would want high taxes, so I'm going to do high taxes now. Now they say I'm rich and I want to conserve my money. Everybody has to live from where they are now. But like I've said previously, the whole thing is usually, well, I'm going to act like I'm on Millionaire Road. So when somebody asks me, so when Yvette hollers at me and say, hey, help clean up the neighborhood, help get the government in here and get reparations, help get a black agenda, you say, hey, Yvette, I'm on Millionaire Road. I'm not going to be here long, so I can't help you because I'm on the road to riches right now. So, I mean, I'm going to be there in about 3 weeks. I'm going to be there in 6 months. Be there in 5 years. I'm on Millionaire Road. So since it's just temporary for me, Yvette, I can't help you out. I wish you best of luck, though, sister. Keep on doing what you're doing. We're all on Millionaire Road. Out of 20 million families, only 340,000 break a million net. There are nearly no blacks with 10 million. A million white families have more than 10 million. And that comes from Antonio and Matt Brunig looking at the Federal Reserve microdata. So you really, because of what has happened to us, because of what has been done to us, slavery and accrued disadvantage, what you're really saying is this. What you're really saying is that I'm on a road to nowhere. But I don't know that I'm on a road to nowhere. People have made me believe I'm on the road to millionaire time. People have made me believe I'm on the road to millionaire lane. And so that's what I believe, that's what I think, that's what I know. And so I live vicariously through other people. I sit around and wonder, wow, what would I do if I had a jet like Drake? What would I do? What would I do? If I had a jet, what would I do? What's the date? What's the date? Anyway, what would I do if I had that? If I had a jet? That's how we live. Nothing I can do. Nothing we can do about it, except not have them at the forefront of these conversations. So I'm gonna get to the crux of what I'm saying in just 1 second. I'm gonna get to the crux of what I'm saying because this is a problem. How many, for the last few weeks and few days, how much was this our conversation? This, Jay-Z. People saying, well, what is the blueprint? We have to get the blueprint for getting the bag. What is the blueprint? What is the blueprint for getting the bag? Jay-Z did it. This becomes our news. Half of this is like a liquor company, cheap grapes, and all that kind of stuff that we already covered on this show. But you're living vicariously through somebody else. That's why I don't like bringing celebrities into this conversation. It's social engineering. Everybody's living vicariously through somebody else. Everybody's going to have all these takeaways, these hot takes on Jay-Z. And when was the moment that he understood that he could, fight and da-da-da-da. And he could keep what was his. He could keep his money and da-da-da-da. He learned about art. See, now I got to learn about art. I just got to get some art and hang it in my house. And so, no. That's the first thing that's wrong with all of this. The first thing is wrong is like, I don't need John Legend support. I don't need you to show up. I don't need you to carry a satchel. I don't need you to carry a satchel to John Legend's house or wherever y'all were, to whatever galley you were, and say, hey, look at this. It's not even the time to look at it. It's not even the time. And I don't know. I really don't know. So that the first thing is like, that's kind of how we're moving. And we're moving toward reparations in terms of congressionally. I'm not talking about us, but we're moving toward it in a very kind of, dare I say it, childlike way, which is a problem. We're moving toward it in a very childlike way. But there's a second part of it. There's a second part of what's going on right now. Hold on, let me see if I can pull this up. There's a second part of what's happening right now that I don't even know if we realize. We have had to, as a group of people, fight each other. We did not have, and it's not the way that you were fighting. No. People started coming for me and said, this is not revolutionary justice. This is not revolutionary Pan-Africanism. And they still here. You cannot do it this way. You cannot do it this way. We cannot do it this way. And this is, let me just put it out there. This is a bunch of boomers. Some of you have sent me emails and said in the comments to me, Yvette, I don't know why you always talk about boomers and older elders, and you that's not right. That's disrespectful. This is why. None of these people, the tweets that I'm about to put up, these people didn't reach out to me. They started talking to me and two-tone and talking down to us. That's not how you do it. But let me tell you what these particular boomers, I'm talking about the Cobra boomers and all of them, the Pan-Africanist revolutionaries who ain't never popped a grape in a street fight. Let me tell you what they do. Let me tell you how they steal your adulthood. They'll tell you stuff like, well, you haven't been around long enough. You just don't know. I'm over 40 years old. You cannot take away my adulthood and make it like I can't be adult until I get on Social Security. And so all of us, we got too many of us who want to act like we young. So we want to be like, yeah, you're right. I am young. I don't know enough. Yes, you do. You shush. You ever think your time might be up for this? You don't get to take away somebody's adulthood to keep extending. It's almost like they're extending our teen years into 40s and 50s. You cannot extend teenage years that way and talk to us like we're kids. Nobody's your child. And you don't get to be disrespectful just because you're old. Being an elder and being old are two different things. I don't see any wisdom in any of the people who have tweeted me and talked about me. You are not wise people. And that explains a lot to me. Your approach isn't even one of wisdom. Your approach is one of antagonism and one-upsmanship. You are part of the problem. I'm just going to show you. I'm going to show you how. Because I've left these people alone, but they haven't left me alone. So let me see which one I'm going to bring up first. Because it's just a lot with these folks. It's just a lot. It's just a lot of what we go through. So I want you to see after when this whole thing popped off, somebody got Dr. Worrell and said, "Oh, Yvette, you gonna get it now? We got Dr. Worrell out here, and he's contradicting you." I don't care. And let me just see if you can pick up something. I'm going to put a couple of these tweets up, and I want you to see if you can pick up something. Okay, in the early part of the 19th century, black leaders debated the question of should we stay or leave, should we stay in America or leave? The essence of the debate has never been resolved as to African people's relationship to America. We were amended into the Constitution. Debate rages with ADOS. No. The debate doesn't rage. When's the last time you heard us as a group, as a collective, talk about seriously whether or not we're going to some country in Africa? The debate is not raging. We're here. And we know what that means. We know that America has been unfair to us. We know that America has oppressed us. But you can't tell me we're debating whether or not we're going to. Most of us don't even leave the country, much less visit any country in Africa. What do you mean the debate is raging? What world do you live in where this debate is raging? I just want to know. Now, here are a few dates. In 2003, February 26th, first hearing of the consolidated class action corporate lawsuit in Chicago federal court. Lead attorneys were Lionel John Baptiste and Roger Wareham. Over 2-year period, millions for reparations organized and blah, 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 blah. Show me the millions. I doubt that very seriously. The only thing that we really see in this is like the boomers who have eaten America and picked up the core and ate it again. And then still want to speak for us. Let me tell you something. One thing you see here is 2003. All of this stuff that you're seeing is around Randall Robinson's The Debt Book. So you see a lot of people who were doing stuff around that and who were trying to get the conversation to move during that period. But understand, there's a reason why, and there was reparations before Dr. Worrell. So I don't know why he's just talking about the stuff that he was really involved in. But there was no groundswell. There was no movement. There was no understanding of why this was essential. Part of the reason that you have that is because people believe, or these people really believe, as quiet as kept, they believe in do-for-selferism. You'll hear a lot of them say, like the Dr. Asante or whatever he was, he said, well, we can do stuff. Part of the problem is that we don't believe we can do stuff. I travel 3 times a year, blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. What does that mean? So you see all of this stuff around 2000. But you notice that you don't see anything. You don't see anything after that. Right? You see something in 1994. In 1994, Lost and Found Nation of Islam, Silas Mohammed petitioned for hearings at the UN, blah, 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 blah. Now, here's the thing about the petition for the UN. One of the things that we find is that Malcolm X tried, and it doesn't look like he did too well. It doesn't look like it got popping. Malcolm X seeks UN Negro debate. He asked African states to cite U.S. overrights. But one of the things, curious thing happened, according to the paper. Some African leaders at the conference, he said, in his memorandum, have implied they have enough problems here on the mother continent without adding the Afro-American problem. That's fine. That's fine. That is absolutely fine. Because one of the things that you absolutely know, or one of the things that you should know, if you're talking about Pan-Africanism, even when you listen to when Kwame Ture was talking about it, one of the things that he talked about is that it was like this, it was evolutionary, and that we hadn't, in terms of Africans throughout the world, hadn't had time to develop, or the opportunity to develop into like a solidarity because of the intervening of white supremacy. That was kind of part of, if I remember correctly, that was kind of part of what he said. The intervening of white supremacy was the thing that got in the way of black solidarity or African solidarity, right? But I would posit something else, and understand he said that in a different place and a different time. Calcification of wealth, technology, the movers and shakers, all of that changed this whole conversation. That blew everything on its head. Because now we're just not just talking about white supremacy. You got the Chinese over there. You got the Chinese in Africa. They running stuff over there now. It's not just about, we're not having this black-white conversation anymore. The only people who are stuck in time are having these kinds of conversations. This is not the world anymore. This is not the world that we live in anymore. And I have a problem, I'll tell you the truth, as being a part of ADOS and a group that's in this country, and we're not going to go and live. We're not going to have an exodus to another country. I have a problem with anything that puts African in a unified Africa, because Pan-Africanism is first and foremost about a unified Africa. I have anything that puts that as primacy, because I am not from any of the 54 countries in Africa. And nobody said, oh, well, you can trace roots. Nobody does that way. Nobody does their nationality based on roots. There are a lot of people who immigrated to America from Ireland. We talked about it. We got the book coming up, and every other place. They'll talk to you about their Irish roots because they knew their Irish great-grandmother. They heard stories of their Irish great-grandfather. But even they say they're American. Even if they say, and they don't even normally, if they're third or fourth generation, they don't even call themselves Irish American anymore. But if you ask them about their people, they'll start talking about it. I don't see how you view it, and there are a lot of you can't unring this bell. We are who we are now. We're not going anywhere. So stop talking to me about the debate. The debate about what? About millions of Negroes who built the country going and living somewhere else? That's fantastical. If you want to write sci-fi, if you want to write alternate universe fiction, you go do that. That's not happening in mass. I'm sorry if you thought it was. I'm sorry if you got confused. That's not my problem. This discussion comes down to how we view the world in relationship to other African people. Is that what this comes down to? Is that what the reparations debate comes down to? ADOS has a point of view that we are separate African people. Our view is that we are an African people. Therein lies the disconnect and conceptual differences we are witnessing. Moving on. But you never moved on. You kept atting me and you kept ADOS and hashtagging, so you didn't move on. But listen. We are not an African people. Like we're all one people. We're not one people, and to say we are has to be the most ignorant thing. It doesn't mean that you don't want to see CARICOM be successful. It doesn't mean you don't want to see countries that will colonize be successful and getting their due. But to say that we are an African people is the most ignorant thing. How do you call yourself an African people and you've never visited the continent? Your whole life has been in America. You know, these people are from a different era, right? Like they're from the era where they believed, and it used to be true. It used to be a reason, it wasn't true, but it used to be a reason for optimism. It used to be a reason that you thought that you could close the wealth gap with labor because, this is a world where, but this is a new world. This is a world where you have to have inheritance. Used to be a time your mom, dad got a job and they worked at a factory and they always thought things were going to get better. But this is a different world. And what we have are people who are talking to us who don't understand the world that we are currently living in and the world that we are living through. And that's a significant problem. That's a significant problem. Africa itself, like the hope, I understand they had this hope of Africa as a unified Africa, but Africa is very disconnected as a continent. So Pan-Africanism came largely, when you look at Sylvester and those people, out of the Caribbean. Like it didn't even come like this hope of how long are you going to hope for this unified Africa? Because that's not what you're finding. You're finding vast differences, cultural and otherwise, just in African countries. But you want to call on me. Now, I have not heard you say anything about CARICOM and talk about how CARICOM is divisive. Not one word. But ADOS is divisive. And we have never said that everybody else isn't owed what they're owed. Here's another awful hot take. This tweet is very revealing. It's become increasingly clear that ADOS agenda is more about an electoral strategy than it is about legitimately pursuing the reparations demand. In other words, using the reparations issue to further an electoral political objective is clear. Ooh, child, you just be on it. And here's what he was talking about. We haven't had a black agenda in recent years. All we've had are surrogates within the Democratic Party whose job it is to increase black voter turnout. How is that inconsistent with the reparations conversation? There's nothing inconsistent. Reparations is a cornerstone of a black agenda. But we have to have a black agenda. And yes, that is part of a political process. That is part of getting black people engaged in a way that we can get something meaningful and substantive from our legislators. One of those things is reparations, but we have other issues too. ADOS101.com. It is a black agenda. Is it your view, sir, that we should be totally disengaged from the electoral process and the political process, sir? How are you going to feed black people if you don't want to be engaged in the political process, sir? We get fed off of budgets, sir. Budgets, redistribution of wealth happens all the time. You hear about those omnibus budgets, when you hear about appropriations, that's how everybody goes on Capitol Hill. Everybody engages in the electoral process, sir. That's key. What did they ask the man, the bank robber? Why do you rob banks? What you do that for? You be in there doing that, carrying on. Why you rob banks like that? He said that's where the money is. Well, that's why everybody's on Capitol Hill. That's where the money is. So yeah, this is absolutely about a political process. And it's absolutely about elections. And it's absolutely about a reformation of thought and a reformation and a reorganization of ideas to get politicians to think differently and act differently and behave differently in how they engage and exchange with the ADOS community. Absolutely. But why would I apologize for that? That's what all of y'all should have been doing a long time ago. Instead of hopping around acting like revolutionaries. It doesn't make very much sense. All this stuff, we're African people. And the thing I want to point out is that a lot of his conversation, when you see it, it happens around those years that I told you about, the early 2000s, right? And he talks about stuff that happened around the time, I think, the publishing of Randall Robinson's book. Well, here's the problem. It's now 2019. You have a big gap, sir, in terms of what's been happening in between that period. It's kind of like this. Like, let's say tomorrow, I just went into hiding. Not doing nothing else. Didn't do really a whole lot on reparations no more. Then about 15 years later, somebody else came on and got some real energy going for reparations again. Now, I've left the stage. For the most part, nobody even knew who you were. From the old people knew who you were, but like everybody else from Gen Xers to millennials didn't know who you were. Like, I knew who it was. I knew who you were, but I was like, I thought they had closed up shop. I ain't heard nothing from them since I was in high school. So anyway, if I leave the stage and somebody else hops on that stage, I don't have a right to jump on that stage and snatch the microphone because I don't like what's being said. I don't have a right to do that. The only thing I can do at that point is to reach out, preferably behind closed doors, and say, listen, when I first see it happening, listen, this is what, I'm just going to let you know how we succeeded in certain areas and how we failed in certain areas. Your job at this stage in your life is advice and counsel. That's what wise counsel does. It is not your job to just look at, see, this tells me everything I need to know. Everybody keeps talking about ADOS. Where are your boots on the ground? You don't got no boots on the ground. You got to have boots on the ground. It's not 1952. Now, I'm not saying there's not a space for actual activism by local advocates with an ADOS agenda. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is the question really should be asked to you. And the question really should be asked to Cobra. The real question is not, where are ADOS boots on the ground? The real question is, how are you an activist organization in 2019 not doing social media? How this is where everything is happening now. You're in this space. You're in this space and you're not doing social media. You only got on social media when it was time to fight ADOS. You did not get on social media. Look at that date. They all started in Cobra. Well, all started March 2019. Go back to March. And that was our zenith when we were getting all the candidates to talk about reparations. Now they're trying to pivot back to DACA. When you saw a movement, you jumped in and said, my butter biscuit, where's it at? I don't like these people that are not Pan-Africanism revolutionary. And understand this stuff is work avoidance. This stuff is work avoidance. But you, I'm going to reiterate this one more time slowly. You joined Twitter to fight me and to fight all of the ADOS out there. You did not join Twitter to fight for reparations. That lets me know everything I need to know. You are fighting for your position. You're not fighting for me. You're not fighting for me. And the same for this guy, ghetto intellectual, who's been all over. I blocked him a long time ago, but I had to go back and look at some stuff because I just have to show you how insane and incompetent this whole discussion has been and how much it has gotten in the way and how willing they have gotten in the way. You know, the boomers that we see, you know, they've kind of choked out reparations by validating this incomplete and short-sighted HR 40. You don't co-sign a CBC that isn't advocating for us full-throatedly. See, the problem is these groups are conformists. And somebody would say, well, Yvette, how are they conformists? They're revolutionaries. How can you be a conformist revolutionary? Oh, child, these ain't no revolutionaries. They over there buddying it up. How many pictures does Mark Thompson have with every CBC member? Did he look like a revolutionary when he was asking Kamala Harris all those questions and all those other elected officials? How many revolutionaries you know are that cuddled up the people in power? They gonna walk in this room, hey, it's good to meet you, Sheila Jackson. We gotta do the work. That's not the energy that you come in that room with. That assures that you're not going to get anything done because politicians respond to pressure and not applause. If there's one thing you take away, please understand that politicians respond to pressure and not applause. You're coming into that room with a conformist energy. You're coming into that room with someone who's just glad that you're in the room. That's not how you get real work done. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you and disappoint you or whatever the case may be. And I don't understand, how do you say you're fighting for reparations and you've been doing it first, but then you say it's never going to happen? I hope it does, but it ain't. The check ain't coming. I hope it does, but it ain't. Wait a minute. I thought you were fighting. I thought you were fighting for reparations, but it ain't going to come. It's not going to come. So how do you consider yourself? So what are you doing? What are you doing? If you're fighting for reparations, but reparations ain't gonna happen, what are you doing? Well, let me tell you what I believe. Let me tell you what I believe. I believe these people. Let me just say this before I put the other tweet up. There are some people who I believe fight for the sake of fight. They like fighting America because of what everything is cathartic. It's like therapy. You go out here and you talk about just imperialism and they did nothing, white supremacy, blah. And it makes you feel good. You know, you get around a group of people who feel the same way, and you all fly your red, black, and green flags, and you talk trash, and you go around and you do a march, and it's cathartic. It's therapeutic. But it doesn't do anything politically. Like politically, it's So I think what we've been seeing is people who are engaging in a kind of catharsis. It's a kind of catharsis and therapy, and it's kind of work avoidance. See, moving around and being busy isn't necessarily productive. Doing a march isn't necessarily productive. And in all fairness, I see this on the left too. The left will just get outside. You'll have somebody who will run outside and hold a sign, end all profit now, end all profit today. And that'll be the end of it. Well, you haven't ended any profit, and you haven't been specific in terms of how you would end it and how you would do all of the things, the mechanisms and the machinations. You haven't been very specific on anything, but you feel good about yourself when you get home. And this is what I mean. Pan-Africanists and other black radicals have been carrying the reparations movement for decades. The black radical approach has been to challenge imperialism, capitalism, white supremacy, raise the consciousness of the grassroots, build solidarity with other oppressed people. That's a lot. That's a lot. The reality is that true reparations is a generational struggle that can't happen within an imperialist capitalist framework. In other words, reparations requires revolution. It won't be happening anytime soon. We are planting the seeds for future generations of struggle. Listen, the Japanese, Jewish communities, all these other communities did not need a revolution. So wait a minute, you got to tell me. See, y'all should even call yourself. You got to tell me I gotta free the whole world. I gotta free the whole world of capitalism, imperialism, and every wrong. I gotta be Jesus in order to get reparations. That's what you're saying. Nobody else had to do that. What are you talking about? I got to do all that just to get reparations? That is an insane thing that you're saying. In capitalism, and you gotta, what he said? He said something else we gotta do. Hold on. Requires revolution and imperialism. See, the funniest thing is people always call me nativist. That's not true. But understanding that we are American makes me more of a nationalist. That's the opposite of imperialist. You all don't even understand ideology and ideological struggles. Being a nationalist, whether you like it or not a white nationalist, don't confuse the two, saying I'm American, is not the same. It's the opposite of imperialism. That means we stop destabilizing countries. We stop doing all of that. We focus on home more. But I got to destroy all of that? So we got to end America to get reparations. That's what you're saying. America has to be finished in order to get reparations. So when America is worthless, then we can get our due. I don't even understand what's happening. What does that even mean? And see, these groups should stop. See, understand that these people are in opposition to reparations. That's not a reparations argument. Like, they should, honestly, what they should start doing, or what they should stop doing, they should stop calling yourselves like a reparations organization or people who are in favor of reparations. I think what you should probably call yourselves is like, don't call yourselves a reparations organization. Call yourself the Alliance for Global Black Liberation. That's a better name. The Alliance for Global Black Liberation. Because that's what you're not a reparations organization. You're opposed to reparations because reparations requires a specific claim for a specific group. I don't know why you don't express that to CARICOM and only me, but that's what it requires. So that's what you need to do. Call yourself that. Or you can call yourself, what I have out here, the Alliance for International Black Solidarity. You can call yourself that too. I got a lot of names for you, but a reparations organization ain't one of them. Because it has to be specifically for ADOS, and you're not there. I don't know what you're going to do. What Cobra has kind of exposed is why reparations never got any traction. Once you look at what Antonio brought up last week in terms of their mission statement, and once you look at who they are and how you have to have global revolution in order for ADOS to get reparations, once you really understand that, you understand why there was never any groundswell. There was never meant to be any groundswell. They don't believe in reparations based on a claim specifically for ADOS. And without that, you don't have a claim. You have a bunch of people who say they fight. But fighting for what? Global revolution? You fighting for a red, black, and green flag? Doesn't have a standing army, no bullets, no money, no wealth, no nothing? You rather fight for that? Oh, let me see if I can find the other tweet. People have a lot of stuff to say. The check ain't coming. No, he said the check ain't coming. What kind of black movement advocates the idea that flying a U.S. flag is even remotely like flying a Haitian or Jamaican or Ghanaian flag? So hold on, wait a minute. You don't get, see, this is an aptitude. What you have to understand what he's encouraging. He's encouraging us to be perpetual outsiders in our own country. That's what's being encouraged in that comment. You can fly the flag. We've always flown the flag. Listen, it was funny. I saw a great D-Day AP News article that was in the newsletter, and they were talking about black soldiers, ADOS soldiers who went overseas and fought and were there at D-Day. And they had them hold them, and they had one of them, very older gentleman who was there, ADOS man, holding a flag. See, I want you to go tell him he don't get to hold his flag. I want you to go tell him that wear your dashiki when you go, and tell this old black man who fought in the war and was there at D-Day to snatch that flag out his hand if you're bad. We have every right to hold that flag. We are American. Now, what our duty is to make America do what it said it was going to do. America talks all this freedom and liberation stuff and ain't been doing it. Not for us. That's the duty. That's what the obligation is. It don't make you any less American if you I had locks. You locking your hair and wearing a brightly colored dashiki don't change your nationality. Let me see your passport if you're bad. What does it say? Just because you rep the American flag and you understand your contribution, you understand the ADOS contribution in this country, does not mean you are approving of what this country does, both here and abroad. Because of what we've suffered in this country, of course we're not approving of what we've suffered or what has been inflicted on other countries. Of course we don't. But we understand that we have a role to play. We are living in this country. We are American. We are realists. We don't live in your fantastical Wakanda world. We live in the real world. We don't live in your comic book world. This is the real world. And we understand that we are American and we have a contribution in this country, and this country owes us too. We would like to make this country what it says it's going to be. And we start by making this country be what it says it's going to be to us. How is that a problem? So we don't get to fly our flag? Because this country isn't what it said it's going to be? That's always been our fight. Our fight has always been for full citizenship. Our fight has never been for exodus. And I bet you don't live nowhere else. Negroes be right here. Negroes be right here in their own house, chilling with the air conditioner on, waiting on an Amazon.com package, talking about, oh, you want to fly the flag. Negro, every time you order a package with Amazon Prime and cut the air conditioner on and go to the grocery store and live an American life, you are being an American. Oh, stop. Stop with the fake revolutionary stuff. Stop. I know it makes you feel good and you pump your chest or whatever, but stop with this fake revolutionary stuff. I'm sick of it. I've had about enough. Everybody with the fake revolutionary. I believe. I'm about to tell you what I believe. I'm a revolutionary. I believe in Pan-African revolutionaryism. You shop at the same Kroger as me. Like, hush. What revolutionary thing have you done? What revolutionary act have you taken? Having a revolutionary thought? Even your thoughts ain't revolutionary. You just don't know enough to know that your thoughts ain't revolutionary. We're all in this together. You don't bring up the original dreamers at all. You don't bring up how dreamers see the thing is, we're the original dreamers. Now the other dreamers, the other dreamers who, when you talk about DACA talk all the time. They talk all the time about, like, they want the fruits of American if they want to be American. They want to be an American. Nobody tells them what you want to be. Oh, you want to be an American and fly the flag. What's wrong with you? You don't say nothing to them. You don't say nothing to them. You hate yourself. You hate black people. Because you don't say anything to anybody else who comes here and say, I want a better life for myself. I want a better life for myself. So I'm coming here to America to have a better life. I'm coming here. I want to have a better life for myself. And I want to be a citizen. You don't tell them what you want to be a citizen of this imperialist country for. You ought to be ashamed. You want them to come and us to leave. And you don't think you crazy. So you want everybody else to come and you don't say nothing about them. We all in solidarity, sister. Okay, fine. But you want me to leave. You talking about me. When you talk about AD, you always talk about an exodus. Where I'm going. Fake revolutionaries. Oh, these fake revolutionaries. Bother me. Bother me. And let me just bring up this. Let me just show you what's happening now. Everything that's happening now, everybody is pivoting now. People are pivoting. See, I don't think when it's happening, we realize that we're losing the stage. You got Sheila Jackson Lee running around with a little piece of paper in her pocketbook, and you got everybody else talking about Pan-Africanist. I'm a Pan-Africanist revolutionary. And so you saw Kamala Harris. Dreamers represent the best of who we are. America is their home. As president, I will take executive action to immediately expand, whatever, child, it don't matter. Same thing. Expand DACA. What I'm saying is, reparations is being moved off the table. People are pivoting and I think that's what the Dream and Promise Act was about, so that we could move to that. And they have a piece of, because they know that's not going to move through the Senate. They have a piece of legislation to kind of put momentum and put attention back on that. But the people who are doing reparations, the old heads are like, well, we're this is not revolutionary. And we don't believe in it anyway. Boo. I mean, so let me just, I'm going to finish out this part, fam, because we're headed to the last little bit. So I wanted to do something else. I want us to have a quick. I'm going to do a quick, not too long, because I want to hear what everybody has to say. I want to do a quick little mailbag again. A little mailbag segment where I check the YouTube comments and talk about the foolishness. Just really quick. You have to always talk about the foolishness. Mailbag, fam. Mailbag. So, a couple of comments. I brought up Dr. Carr, professor at Howard University, it pains me to say, who was talking. I don't even remember what he said. I don't remember what the tweets I put up. But somebody said, will Mr. Carr put pressure on the EFF to include ADOS in their South African land reclamation claim? No. This false newfound all of a sudden Pan-Africanism is merely a distraction. Preventing ADOS from getting reparations is actually contradictory to the original tenets of Pan-Africanism. I agree. Because you can understand that all of these things can work in parallel with one another. What I mean is that CARICOM can work in parallel to ADOS, can work in parallel to African countries who are trying to get their claim. We could conceivably all be trying to get our claim in our very specific way. Heck, we could think tank it. It doesn't make any sense how this is happening. We have a specific claim in America. That's just the truth. It doesn't make any sense for you to vilify me based on that. And the truth is, it's the truth. People keep pointing out, well, you all brought up that Africans sold ADOS. That was in the New Yorker article. I didn't bring up anything. I'm waiting for somebody to disprove it. I mean, it is what it is. Say it ain't so. Hold on 1 second. Let me get this up. Now, here goes one. Caller. The video is entitled HR 40. What to do? So what do we do in terms of action? I wish you get that sentence together. YC. Okay, I appreciate you. Let's go to the next caller. Before the family slaps the back of my head, I don't mean this as criticism. I'm just so ready for action. That's part of the problem. You ever be a person who ain't never fought before and you be ready for action, you get in the fight and then like get knocked in the head? Anyway, what do we do collectively to ensure that the right people are at the table? Can we all at least start at the petition level? Here's what I'll say. One of the things I want to say is this. Antonio made a really good point last week. If you can't get your family on board, I don't know how you're talking to me about getting everybody on board. Because that's part of the charge. Everybody got to do their part. Because what we need more than anything right now is numbers. That's people. We need human beings. That's what we need. Like, you want to, You know, it's funny. I had so many people talking to me about oh, Yvette, I didn't know the difference between commission and committee and stuff like that. Well, from the last show. And it's kind of like, you can't jump out in politics if you don't know that, though. Like, everybody just wants to jump out. No, you can't jump out. You have to do it a very specific way. That's why I do the shows in a very specific way. So that there's a very specific knowledge and skill set. That's why it's such a problem, though, too, that these people blocked us from the caucus. This is horrible what they did. When you talk about what should have happened, everybody should have screamed to high heaven when it turned out that you saw what he tweeted in response to me. Go look at my Twitter timeline. Yes, we're using our connections and the CBC. Everybody should have screamed to high heaven. No, absolutely not. Tone Talks and Yvette should be there. Tone Talks, Yvette, Darity, and some other people, and they can figure out who those other people are, should be there. Like, and I'm not talking about just from y'all. I know y'all have been working, but the problem here is, like, the rest of Black America ain't been working. Sheila Jackson Lee's line should have rung off the hook. What are you doing? Why wasn't Yvette or Antonio, why haven't they been looped in? This is what should have happened day one. If as a group we're not going to do that collectively, what do you think that looks like? We have to move as a unit. We don't get to just like, well, I'm ready to hop out here right now. No, we have to move as a unit. The second they said that just should have been it. To the point of where she's like, well, I got to figure out a way to have them. We got to postpone this and we got to figure something out. We can't do it that day. That's not going to work. If you can't move that solidly as a group, we're going to have problems, because what people are doing, what these people have done is just block us from the CBC. And to get something that is basically stealing. It's basically stealing an energy that they did not create. To get something they do not deserve. To advocate for something they don't believe in. That's what's happening. And, you know, I see those of y'all who are online working hard. But I'm telling y'all, it's not enough for y'all. It's not enough for me. It's not enough for Tones. And you run around treating these people like elders, and your kids are going to, like, starve. Here goes another one. Another mailbag. Sounds to me like y'all got to talking about reparations ADOS before y'all had a plan in place to get the job done. Stop having conversations and come up with a solid plan like y'all. How many times you gonna say y'all? What is this a Reg? You a cowboy? I still stand with y'all. No, you don't. Block me. You don't stand with me. Block me right now. We don't stand together. Because there is no y'all. There is only us. And we have been very clear about what everybody needs to do. See, you're not doing anything. You're just armchair quarterbacking. We've been very clear about what we need in terms of numbers. We've been very clear about you got to reach out and call your Congress people. You got to call Sheila Jackson Lee. You got to, and some of that stuff really happened. When Sheila Jackson Lee sent out that Dear Member letter, that was because of all the work that we done as ADOS, Breaking Brown, Tone Talks family, to get her to really, the whole conversation about reparations because of the work that we did. So we're really moving. But there is no y'all. What should have happened is that Antonio and I should have been in that room that they're going to have for the 19th and 20th when they know we're going to be doing Angela Project in Birmingham. That's a given. That's why they put it on that day. That was the next step. That's the concrete step. But y'all, you twit, y'all didn't put the pressure on them to make sure that we win that room. You're supposed to be the win to the back. You don't get that? No, people just want to eat and nobody want to work. The good book says something about that. Anyway, fam, I want to hear what everybody has to say about that. To say about this show, I just felt like a lot of it needed to be said. Give me a minute to set up the phones as usual, and we're going to have a conversation. on, fam? What's going on? Hold on 1 second. We're gonna come to the phone. All right. All right. There we go. Whew. What is this? Okay, fam, we're gonna get to the phones. Give me 1 second. As usual. I swear, sometimes you get older, you just have days you just be moving slow. Like, I'm gonna ping, ping, ping. All right. 310, what's going on?
What up, man?
What's going on?
The first and last two shows. I kind of wanted to just get in and get out to give support for what you have been doing on the show, just to show that it's not just Yvette, it's not just me, it's, I believe, ADOS across the board that really sees this whole thing as a problem. I believe that what HR 40 really serves as a purpose now is to keep the conversation from happening with the presidential candidates. It's to make it seem like something's going on, so we don't need to talk about this on the campaign. I think I'll start off by just, can you bring the John Legend picture up with Sheila Jackson? So, it's interesting because I talk about the decadent veiled black celebrity, and I try to explain to y'all that within race, we might have the highest wealth, like inequality of anywhere in the world, modern world ever, within the black race in America. The black celebrity largely reflects that. Their alliances and how they've created their wealth is largely through alliances with white capital, serving a functionary role to tell other black people that it's okay. And they're largely overly reflected from ESPN to CNN. There's way too many black faces given our wealthless level in this country on television. But it's a control mechanism. Now, at the same time, I tell you, I've been around enough of them. See, we got black people all across the country, and largely, I would guess that most black people have never even met a black celebrity. And if it is in at a concert where they just seen them, you got to understand part of the elements of what you see is that she's meeting this black celebrity in all the wrong ways. And I say that to you because I'm going to give you a contrast after I explain the elements of the picture. You have her at some kind of gala, pulling out a dollar store portfolio with the HR 40 bill in there and kind of reading it to him. He's not interested in that when he had a gala. I contrasted it for you not to drop names. Like, literally in my phone right now, I got cell phones for Dre, for Nick Cannon, for all kind of different people. But you don't just call them up and say, we talking about reparations today. Do you mind listening? You have to create enough energy or have enough, cachet where they're asking it of you. And I say that to you in all honesty because I know it because I've done it, because we've been there. So, when we did the doc, Freeway Cracking the System, one of the places we screened it was at Dre House for Dre. The whole doc, 2 hours, uncut. And I'm saying this to you because that's how we're talking about a documentary. Albeit on the Iran-Contra, but, here we got the HR 40 bill on reparations. When you look at the tweet, how many retweets does it have, Yvette? 42, right?
42.
That's 42 retweets. You know why? Because this man didn't retweet it. This man didn't even retweet the tweet. Go over to his Twitter. You go over to his Twitter because and it might be because he don't care, or it might be because he can't really side with this thing. It's too much. I'm just telling you, he didn't retweet it. So what we doing here? Yvette, you got the other tweet? He did retweet about some other stuff recently. He got space and time to retweet about his family, and he got space and time, and he retweeted about, I believe, abortion rights. But he didn't retweet this right here. And now I'm not here to speak about whether he should retweet about what he retweeted about here. But I'll tell you this. Before he tweeted about this, he should be retweeting about reparations. But he didn't. So we come back to Sheila Jackson Lee picture. We can pull that back up, and there's 42 retweets. The whole purpose of her doing that picture was thinking that just because he's in the picture, a bunch of black young people going to start caring and retweet it as well. Nope, that's not how it works. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing. And I'm saying all this to say, I've done this before. So I know this is wrong. This is a wrong meeting in every way. We don't have time to play with these people. This woman doesn't know what she's doing at this point. She don't listen good. That's what it seemed like. She already ain't anchored at ADOS. I don't know what y'all expect to happen with this, but this ain't right. I'm going to tell you right now, this HR 40 thing, how it's being done is wrong. It's premature on top of it. We need to get the candidates on fire because the black population is on fire so that this is very real to everybody that's in Congress at least. At least. And everybody that's in Senate at least. That's a Democrat. That's not right now. Everybody is using this to not have the candidates talk about it no more. And I feel like we look over at Cobra and they're a reflection of everything I've been basically trying to let y'all know about boomers versus millennials and Gen Z that's coming after. Like, we don't really want to be honest about how good a life they had because of wealth calcification and how labor actually allows you to springboard yourself, how they had affirmative action and different programs, how the CBC, everybody's like 60. Everybody's 60. I mean, there's a couple young ones now, but like, you got to realize that everybody's 60 now. Everybody was 40 at one time, at the same time, coming into office. So they just representing their own interests. And we're not aligned. We are wealthless. We have expensive daycare. We have student loans. Well, they care about that too. Are you sure? Are you sure? Mm-hmm. And I'm saying to you, I come back to Cobra because what they have done is suffocated reparations. Nothing about their agenda lines up with reparations. What they're talking about is not U.S. ADOS reparations built around the criteria set forth by MIT, paying PhD, Sandy Garrity, who I talk to regularly. Let's come back to the black celebrity. Look, y'all can have the feeling y'all want to have about Byron. I contrasted him to Ho this last show. I talked to Byron for 40 minutes this week. He said, I'm good. But this lawsuit that just got picked up by the Supreme Court, the NAACP, the Urban League, they should be doing amicus briefs because it's a lawsuit about black people being shut out of contracts. And I'm saying to you that there's a whole thing that you got to do to create a groundswell where black people are so interested about reparations that America has to answer. Between Talib Kweli, the Cobra people, and this CBC, they undermine the ability for y'all to get this. Period. They have no idea what they're doing, and they have undermined it. They call Yvette a right-winger. I don't know how somebody that worked at the DNC that for literally aided for two Democratic Congresspeople is a right-winger. Look at all their shows. I don't understand how y'all let this happen. So now it's waffling, the whole reparations discussion. They talking about, they give you, look, you know how disrespectful it is for Congress to have a meeting on HR 40 and tell everybody 5 days before the meeting? They don't care. It's supposed to be the seminal moment of discussion about America's original sin. And we going to announce it 5 days before it's supposed to happen? And black folks ain't saying nothing? Forget even ADOS ain't going to be there. No, you don't get to announce it 5 days before. Period. This is sloppy. It's unorganized. These people don't know what they're doing. They don't understand reparations. They don't understand the reach of it, meaning the scale of it. They don't understand who should get it. All of it's wrong. And I'm gonna leave on this though, and just tell you one of the things that I've noticed about what's being said right now is one component is what I said last week, where y'all ain't got y'all families in line. Y'all be having the game be on the same time as Yvette, and your daddy in the other room watching the game, or your brother in the other room watching the game, or your husband in the other room and you watching Yvette in this room. That can't happen in your own house. So this is finished. Now I'm gonna bring it to a new point this week. What is the other point? Yvette brought up a clean point about we just want to hop out there. Well, part of the reason we just want to hop out there is Jason. The hip-hop CEO introduced a false narrative on the complexity of America and American wealth. Ooh. It made it seem like all you had to do was get one artist and make a hit, like Motown with the sandwich, and then you could be like a businessman. This is a complex America where people do business based on knowing that they're going to lose profit for so many years. This is a complex America where you have Amazon controlling everything from production all the way to distribution. This is not an America where you get to come fresh out of jail or not have a high school diploma like Jay-Z and tell everybody that you're a multi-million-dollar businessman when all your businesses keep failing. We got to get honest. Title was a failure. Do you know somebody with title, Yvette? I don't.
No.
We got to get honest that the champagne is made with cheap grapes. So the only thing that holds it up is that black people are aspirational. In and of itself, it's not a good product. Mm-hmm. You can read it on Business Insider. It's a table grape. So I don't know how it comes to $300 million. Please try to sell it for that and then come back to me. But then when I tell y'all about Byron, y'all don't understand. That Weather Channel might be worth more than Jay-Z told. Everything he worth. Just the Weather Channel. And that's not about boosting Byron. It's about you understanding that nobody's telling you the truth. Nobody's telling you how many real billionaires there are or who's a billionaire. And I'm going to leave it and say this to y'all. These people are suffocating reparations. H.R. 40 as a bill is empty. I understand the idea of setting up a commission, but it's empty because you need to actually have much more direction in this. And none of these people should be the people speaking. You need economists, historians, and lawyers. Economists, historians, and lawyers, just to make it simple. If you just went to school at some small school and got a religious degree, or you just have an educational degree, don't get me wrong, in terms of dissemination on the final level, that you can help with that. But in the first phases, you can't be here talking about you an expert because you done marched. I'm just telling you the truth about it all, and you can take it how you want to. In the end, we better get real because these people that suffocated this thing, and we trying to push, but y'all better start pushing back. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Tom. And I'll say something else. Like even when we talk about like whether or not you have this degree or that degree, like these people don't even have like there are some people with various degrees who have a history, a bona fide history in like this lane in terms of what they do, their writing, their books, their scholarship, all of that. You don't have that here. You have one person who wrote one book, and then like the scholarship ends. But this whole thing is an evolution. It can't be that way. This is not how any of this works. You gotta have been there. So what are you doing? What is the foundation of what you're building in terms of your reparations argument? Oh, you stopped a long time ago, and you started making it about something that's about. Oh, you don't love ADOS enough, and you hate us for like accepting that we're ADOS. No, you got to be on this. I'm not even talking about all of a sudden you like it's like you got to write journal articles on. I'm talking about also you gotta. When's the last time you've been published anywhere? Have you tried and they just didn't let you in? That's a different thing. Have you tried, or have you just been chilling out? Putting your Kango on and talking that stuff. What have you been doing? So I'm going now to a 313-313. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey. Yvette, thank you so much. This is Gigi. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. I just wanted to call in tonight. Since we're talking about in Cobra, I'm in Detroit.
Okay.
And the whole Butter Brisket Brigade is about to meet up here on the 20th. And I feel like we need to go ahead and talk to some of these people face to face and ask some real hard questions. A lot of the questions that you were asking in this very episode tonight. So I'm planning on that. Y'all follow me on Twitter, Maserati Gigi. If you don't already, I'm trying to click up and get some things going. I have been working diligently, calling Congress people, trying to get this thing together. They over here playing with HR 40. I mean, I called up Sheila Jackson Lee crazy ass today, talked to some little girl in the office. They don't know what's going on. I'm trying to get them to understand that we need to have certain type of representation in the room, and why they announced it so, out of the blue and all that, this, there, and the other thing. I wish I could have recorded it, but I was just so upset when I seen that tweet. As soon as I seen the number, I was like, they gonna hear from me today.
I know, we appreciate you. But the thing is, it's also like, and I'm not speaking in terms of me, and I'm not speaking in terms of ego. I told y'all I killed my ego in the bathtub. Like, but the point of the matter is, with everything with the groundswell coming from ADOS, right? Like, no, y'all should have even, like, not even just how long it should have been. Y'all should have contacted me and Tone directly and say, hey, we're trying to schedule this. We want to check with your schedule, see what you got, and see what's on your schedule. The whole thing where y'all trying to backdoor with these people that y'all have relationships with, these people are going to go and do this thing and do something. They're going to go to dinner together. And then people want to be on this commission because you're going to get like a GS-18 in terms of your pay. Everybody going to try to get paid.
A whole bunch of biscuits.
Yep.
Yes. No, and then on top of that, with this whole meeting, when I was asking her questions, she was saying that there's 4 citizen witnesses who can be there, because it's like something about a closed legislative meeting, and that they'll be doing it live stream. Just a whole bunch of nonsense. I couldn't get a clear answer. I got so upset I hung up, because I was talking in circles with the girl for like at least 5-10 minutes. I don't know. I was just upset. But anyway, back to Ninkoba's coalition conference. What are your feelings on that? What are some things that we should be doing? Because these people are standing in the way. You know,
I don't have
cussing out war room, and they congregated. All of them congregating to try to block us. They all clicked up.
I know.
PNC, Pan-Africanism. I mean, what is going on? Like, these people, they have none of our interests at heart. That's what I'm supposed to believe.
Well, we didn't.
President Bill that's only talking about everything that you're talking about is 100. I felt this way for decades, but I never knew a way to articulate the shit till I started fucking with y'all. And I thank my husband for putting me on.
Okay, there you go.
It's something that needs to be happening. I'm working though, and I'm not gonna stop.
Well, just understand. You know what I was told. Somebody told me, like, listen. They're putting together these, Incover and other people are putting together these meetups about reparations to take control of the narrative away from ADOS. So it's really not about reparations. It's about
I'm picking that shit up. They gonna listen to me. And
don't you let
everybody I come in contact with, I let them know about ADOS. All my family, everything. I don't know about y'all, but I'm pushing that. Even people acting all stuck up, oh yeah, we don't need it. Oh yeah, we do. Because then I start getting real with them about that money, and then they're like, well, shit, yeah, we don't have what we're supposed to have. And that's when things start looking real. People need to wake up.
Don't you put your hands on nobody.
Hey, even if it's a small group of us, we can work smart.
I agree.
I'm talking about working smart.
I agree.
We got a lot of people with
I agree.
Security things going on, and telecommunications, marketing that been working in things. We need to get together and project what we got going on right now. You know, I know you talk about the numbers, and we don't got enough for the groundswell, but if we can just keep pushing this thing and use this test the way we're supposed to use it, we can make it, we can amplify it.
I agree with you whole. I agree. Okay, I see.
And
Fam.
me back, Yvette, because you be playing. You be liking my stuff, you and Tony. Y'all don't never follow me.
I don't know. What's your name again? I don't follow nobody. People upset me real bad. What's your name? What's your Twitter? Let's get back laughing with her husband or whatever. They can play games on the phone.
No, I'm still here. I don't want to hold up the line though.
No, say what your Twitter handle is again. I can remember.
Maserati GG.
Maserati GG.
Yeah. You would never think about it. It's throwing them off, man. You gotta come with something different, man.
All right, fam. I appreciate
social media and all that, and that's the problem with a lot of this too, because a lot of these people that are following Tone and you, we've been on the fringes and like really weary about sharing certain things because of black identity extremism and all that old bullshit around here. And I work around white people, and certain views that I have could cause me to lose jobs and shit. You know what I'm saying? So I be having to flex a certain way, but follow back.
All right, fam. All right, I appreciate you. And listen, fam. You can go. Understand. First of all, don't put your hands on nobody if you go to one of these meetings. Don't you touch nobody, because I say that I don't say that to say anything bad about you, but you have to understand these people are going to intentionally antagonize you. and they're gonna start quoting out of the first national, the Pan-Africanist convention and the Pan-Africanist conference. They're gonna start asking you questions about Du Bois. They're gonna start asking you questions about when did he move from, what was the year for the first one, and then then it was a long time before the second one, and one was a conference and one wasn't, and one was like a committee. So what was the time frame? And tell us about Sylvester. They're going to make it into like this this game of, what do you call that thing when you go to, that the people have when you go, trivia. They're gonna make it into like trivia. I realize that's what everybody does. Like, that's what Pan-Africanists do. They just memorize Pan-Africanist history and they just use it to bludgeon you to death. So I'm just telling you what you're going to face, and you're going to be intentionally gaslighted and antagonized. And if you're going to go in that space, you have to be ready to deal with all of that. That's all I'm saying. I'm not discouraging you at all. I'm just telling you, be ready when you walk in. That's what I'm telling you. That's not family when you walk in. So 310, I'm coming to you. 310, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, this is Miko out in LA. First of all, thanks to you and Tone and Professor Darity for just really kind of educating us, because I think a lot of us in our community really didn't understand the political process. And I think a lot of us were really doing they eat our mac and cheese, type thing. But I think one thing that we are faced with right now, if you want better politicians, you have to be a better voter. And if you want smarter politicians, then you have to be a smarter voter. And that's what you guys are really bringing to the table.
Say that again. If you want a smarter politician, you got to be what?
A smarter voter. And so part of what we're looking at right now, especially with our politicians, y'all got to be real. A lot of these politicians, and I'm not trying to shade anybody, but if you was in PTA or whatever some of these people did that led them to be into politics, i.e., because if you were a businessman, you're not going to go into politics. You're going to be a businessman. And then you just buy politicians. So a lot of these cats are using us to eat, but they're also using us to position their families. They're positioning their children. They're positioning their grandchildren. They're using their networks and all that stuff. So the butter biscuits is not just for them. But, I mean, if you look at a lot of them, even out here in L.A., we got a couple. Every couple years you get one or two of them trying to run their kids, trying to run, someone they're related to. So they use us to eat. But the other thing I want to say about the Pan-Africanism, what's really janky is that, how is it all of these people that come to this country, forget their flag, they sign a piece of paper that swears allegiance to this country. They swear allegiance to this country. When it comes to taking the handouts, there ain't no hand-wringing. They're going to be whatever they need to be to get that damn money. And that goes for all of them. Even if you read the story about Trump's grandfather, some of y'all should do that if you really want to understand what opportunity, because we keep using that word opportunity, but he took advantage of some opportunities. And he positioned his son to be president. He positioned his grandson to be president. And remember, Trump's sister, I think, is a Third Circuit Court judge. So why is it that all of these people are able to come in here, take whatever handout, they're going to claim to be whatever they got to be. And again, we see the people that look like us but are not ADOS playing Martin Luther King. There was no hand-wringing there. We see them, was it Harriet Tubman? No hand-wringing there. So why is it that when it comes to us, we're supposed to struggle with our identity? We don't have an identity problem. We shouldn't. No. We were born here. So if the people coming in can take this money and every other handout they can get, come into our communities and take opportunities that should be ours.
But and let me take it a step further. Let me take it a step further, fam. I want to just narrow down what you just said. You made a very good point. One of the things he just said is this: our ancestors set foot on this soil 400 years ago. Not all of them, but I'm talking about the one when we're talking about African. Okay, let's talk about them. 400 years ago, set foot here. Y'all still won't let us. be American. You still tell us, our own people, the Pan-Africanist revolutionaries still tell us you can't be American. You can't wave that flag. So our ancestors coming 40 years ago, we're told we still can't be American. Okay, somebody crosses the border last week, and let's say they legitimately get to be an American. They get it automatic. So within 5 years or 10 years or however long, that person gets to be an automatic American. No questions asked. Nobody says anything about how that's wrong, or you shouldn't wave the flag, or you should wave your Honduran flag and not be a part of America. You should not pledge allegiance to America. Nobody says a word. But when, or your wherever you from, Czechoslovakia, wherever you from, nobody says, oh my God, you should go back and wave that flag. Serbia, you could go back and wave your Serbia. Nobody says anything. But for us, 4 years we've been here, and our own people say, oh my God, why would you wave that flag? It's not the same as what, why would you do that? You see what you're saying? People come in and we don't, they sign a pledge. You made a good point. They sign a pledge, an oath to this country. We don't, they pledge allegiance when that's part of their initiation into being American. They come here immediately and get there, and nobody says a word. We've been trying to be citizens for 40 years, and our own people, our Pan-Africanist revolutionaries push us back. That's a powerful point, fam. I'm gonna let you finish up, fam.
The main thing is we got to stay on code, and I think myself, I've been telling people about the books. The most important, what was it when affirmative action was white? They're actually probably going to cover that at my church.
Oh, good.
Because they do some Black History Month programs. I actually probably will try to at some point, but I have had the ADOS conversation, so probably I'll pick, one or two of your videos and maybe try to have that, reviewed as a group.
Oh,
and kind of have some conversation around it, because our people, we have to be educated. We have to really understand, like you're talking about, like Tone brought up about Miss Lee running around with legislation in her pocketbook. My God. I mean, if that's really the regard that you have for our community, you don't even need to be representing us. If that's the kind of regard, the lack of regard, if that's the lack of respect that you have for something that's supposed to address such an egregious wrong, you don't even need to be representing us.
But you know what the problem is, caller?
People have to
you know what the problem is, caller? Part of the problem is, too, I don't like to say this a lot on this show, but a lot of our politicians aren't playing politics on a high level, right? And if you're not playing politics on a high level, like somebody can suggest to you a really dumb idea. Like, well, you're going to see John Legend, get his support while you're there. Just take it with you. And that's not advice that you should take. But since you're not playing politics on that level, you don't know that, like, politics at the level that you're at is a very complex game. That's not what you're playing. Like, you're playing below state level politics. You're playing like dog catcher politics. Like, he be catching out. He caught 3 coons, but I caught 4 cats, and I caught. You know what I mean? Like, that's not. No, we're not doing that. This is America, the richest country in the world. The mightiest military, a global force. This is complex politics, and we have people who are playing at a very simple level, and that's a problem. You got anything else to add, Colin?
I'm going to end and I'm going to end and just say this. As Tone pointed out, if you got 44 follows, 44 retweets, you don't know what you're doing. You need to shut up and sit down somewhere. If you started your social media adventure in March of 2019, you need to shut up and sit down somewhere. So that has to be the attitude, and that's what that education brings to you, because it enables us to really vet these people. Because let's be honest, we've had church, most of us go to church, and we've had all kinds of people come, wear dashiki, get up and sit at the little special, and so they've been playing games for decades. And so now, as more and more of us are educated, we're learning, okay, no, excuse me, you playing. Anyway, good night, fam. Thanks for everything.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate it. It's a very, very good call. I appreciate you calling in. And I want to say something else to people. I don't care what people wear. I'm not going to judge you or nothing like that. But I'm just trying to say that, like, clothing is not an act of revolution. It seems to be that some people seem to believe that the brightest, the most pillowy dashiki is a sign that you are a revolutionary. No, that is not a sign of revolutionary. That's a sign of a fashion choice. And you're free to it. I don't judge people based on their fashion decisions and fashion choices. And I don't want nobody to judge me in my jeans and tennis shoes. But the point of the matter is, that's not revolutionary. Some of y'all walk around really thinking that like your clothes are an act of revolution. It's not. Like, no, that's just like you like bright colors, and that's fine. That's wonderful. I prefer earth tones. Anyway, family, I'm going to the next caller. I am going to 770. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
This is Ian. I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay, what's up?
All right, yes, I'm finally on. I've been listening to you since you did that one episode on Jay-Z when he talked about the painting.
Oh, I remember that.
I was at that time. You remember that?
I do.
Because at that time, everybody that I knew, because I was working at Public, they were talking about how deep he is. Oh, he's finally, now that he's made all his money, he can finally be black and be for black people. And I was looking at him like, really? You think that's deep? Like, oh, come on, man. Now all of a sudden he's talking about credit, and I'm like, and then you did that, and you just blasted him. I'm like, oh, okay, finally I found someone that's looking deeper into things, you know, more so than the average person. You know, at that time, man, I was going through a lot, and this whole legacy thing allowed me to go through a lot of traumatic experience economically. You know, the identity that I'm black, you know, and I'm proud of where I come from and my ancestors come from. It allowed me to get through everything and to be able to get to where I am now, where I'm stable, I'm doing well, and so on and so forth. Now, this is not even what I want to say, but I'm just happy to be on, and I really enjoy your show, and your information is very powerful, and I think it's a spiritual thing as well. I think people don't understand that you have to love your mother, you have to love your father, you have to love your people to be for this. You know what I'm saying? You have to be a whole person. And I think what we're not seeing is that the people who are going against us, they need a lot of work. You know, spiritual health. They need a lot of mental, spiritual health. Why would you not be for reparations if you're black? It makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree, Carla.
You know, then you have Martin Luther King. He said, I, for one, am not ashamed of this past. My shame is for those who became so inhuman that they could inflict this torture upon us. That's Martin Luther King. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? He's been with us from the beginning. But we slept on him because we thought that he had a dream to sit down and rub elbows with white people, but that's not what he was talking about. When he was talking about being with white people, he was like, okay, most of the deals, you know, business deals are done on the golf course. So he wanted to be in the places to make the deals and make the social connections and have the social capital to be able to move forward as black people. And I think that's what a lot of black people who think they're maneuvering don't understand. You know what I'm saying? They come in a room with a suit and tie or whatever, but if you don't have no people behind you, and you don't have no group, and you don't have no standing with a group of people, you're powerless. No matter how much money you have. Jay-Z, he doesn't have a group of black people behind him. He's nothing.
Yeah. No, I agree, Carla. I agree. And I think another part of that too is just like, if you build the country right, you don't get to tell me to go eat out of another window or that you don't serve me. Like, too many people try to make segregation out of, y'all just want to be around white people. I don't want to be. No, like we didn't integrate. So like our property doesn't accrue. You know what I mean? It doesn't accrue value. And so like, you don't get to do that to me. Like, it's not about wanting to be around anybody. I know why everybody makes that personal. It's about the fact that you don't get to make me something less than American. And that's what discrimination did. That's what Jim Crow did. It wasn't about wanting to be around anybody. We were always around white people in terms of we were the ones who the women kept their babies and were the housemaids and men were the butlers and all kinds of stuff. We were always around white people. It wasn't you want to be around them. It was just like you told us that where we could go and what we could do. Like we were little children. We were your little pets or something. And we were like, no, we want to be citizens. It was never about what people try to make it about. People, this nostalgia for Jim Crow is something that's problematic and needs to be pushed back against too.
Right. And one more thing, just there's a book called The Protest Psychosis that I came across years ago.
Okay.
I don't know if you know about that.
No,
now,
I don't know.
This book details how, and at one point, schizophrenia was characteristic of a docile white woman who was depressed. Then when the civil rights era came about, they said, oh, schizophrenia is now that these black men are standing up for themselves, where they had these two minds. In one mind, they were okay with their oppression. Now, all of a sudden, out of the blue, they're rising up with this other mind, so they have this split personality, and it's crazy. And so in the book, it details one prime example is when this black man is sitting at the counter, right? He wasn't supposed to be sitting at the counter, because they was going the back door, and this white man accosted his mother. You know, he was an older gentleman, so his mother was even older. So when he went to defend his mother, the police came, took him to the mental hospital. So that's how this thing goes. In this culture, you are seen as crazy for standing up for yourself. And so those of us who love the ways of this culture in a negative sense, they've been programmed to think that we're crazy too for standing up for ourselves.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate it. Yeah, I think they think we're half crazy. I think sometimes they do because they're not going to do that. Why would you do that? Why would you advocate for that? I'm on Millionaire Road. I don't know what you're thinking. Why aren't you just happy? Like, why, you could be on Millionaire Road too. Just like me. Anyway, let me try to get some more calls in here. I'm going to 504, what's your name? 504, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
How you doing, Yvette? This is Major calling out of New Orleans.
What's going on?
Okay, I'm going to try to just keep this concise. I actually had to take out a piece of paper and actually work it out, right?
Okay.
If you say $14 trillion in reparations for $40 million ADOS, that averages out to about $300,000 per person. And I'm to the point now, and I think this is where the getting the older people on board is a problem. I'm ready to see Kookie and Ray Ray get that money to fix our people. It's time for our people to be fixed. The dude on the corner that you think don't deserve it, he needs it too so we can get right. I had a conversation with my mother. My mother's in her mid-60s. Her and my father, I'm 42, grew up well, 70s and 80s, everything was good. And I had to get my mother to admit, look, I understand. You came from a time where you actually saw in your face racism and you lived it. It's like she doesn't want to believe that the Democrats are as corrupt as they are because she watches MSNBC and CNN all day and she can only view it from a Republican standpoint. And I tell her, look, just because you heard Rachel Maddow go off on some Republicans, just because you heard Anderson Cooper go off on some Republicans, that's not helping us. And she basically had to admit, it's like, look, it was bad, but now it's not as bad as it was, and that should be okay. One other point, I love the fact that you talk about citizenship. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was up there on the Hill talking about, how she has a problem with the census and how they're going to question people's citizenship. And that ties into what you were saying earlier. It's like people just come over here and get it. So I want to get your opinion for our older relatives who are in their 60s who've been voting. And I'm not even saying vote Republican or whatever, but I'm just saying don't give away our vote. How do we get them to understand that you cannot just come from a mindset that it's not as bad as it was?
Well, let me just say one thing first. In terms of the number that you gave, it's not quite right because you're including black people and like black immigrants wouldn't be included in that number. You would have to take them out, right? So you would have to take them out of that number, so they wouldn't be included. And it's not like a per person thing. Like the way I'm thinking of reparations, I'm not saying that we don't get an amount, but it's more complex than that. We're talking about everything from credits to and so that we don't give our money away, we have to make ourselves reparations has to make us into an ownership class. Meaning that the way you give your money away is they give you just money and you're just a consumer. No, you have to give us back the ownership and the land and the stuff that was taken from us too, so that we can be we are ownership class now, as opposed to just we got a bunch of money and we're consumers. So it's a lot that goes into it. You just can't count the 33 million, the way that you were counting it. So I just wanted to make that clear. But
Okay.
you know, the only way the only way to kind of, and it's the problem with people that you're talking about, the older people, is that, and I'm not trying to be mean, because the people who call in, I need the boomers who call into my show frequently to understand that, like, y'all aren't the norm. To even listen to the show, you're not the norm. What happens is they stopped learning so long ago. They don't understand timing. They don't understand income inequality. They don't understand stability. So they don't understand that, like, even if you had a job that wasn't a great job, if you had that job for a long time and that job was promised to you that stability, you didn't have to go out and figure nothing out. They don't understand, like, the share of wealth. Like, you saw the share of wealth that labor, like the share of money, I'm sorry. Like the share of money in terms of you have this whole pie. Think of it as a pie. You have this whole pie. Used to be a time labor got a bunch of this pie. Now labor in general is only getting a small bit of this. It's been going down the trajectory. Labor isn't getting anything. So if you're at the bottom already as a bottom caste, and labor isn't getting anything, like the lion's share is going to the top 5, top 20% too. Like what that means is that you're being squished out of American wealth. And you have, in order to understand that, you have to understand income inequality. There's no other way to understand it. And we live in the most unequal, like America is the most unequal in place in modern times. Like, think about that. The most unequal. We talking about any other country. Somebody's like, well, at least you're not in the third world. No, America is the most unequal. Like, you could be, there are places in the third world you can be in, they all kind of poor, they all kind of whatever. But you have this vast gap. So what that means is that you can't pay for college, because college is now $60,000 a year. You can't go pay for college.
Right.
We know older boomers who worked their way through college. Like, I remember, what was it, like Clarence Thomas or somebody? No, it wasn't him. It was the other conservative. I remember somebody talking about they worked their way. They worked at the post office and stuff. You see all these boomers talking about how they worked their way through college. What this means, when you have all these people without a wealth, that means that they can't pay $60,000. $60,000 is not as expensive. It's not expensive for we think of it as expensive, like, oh my God, it's enormously expensive. No, the reason it's priced that way is because some people can pay. Like, American money can pay.
Right.
The reason you can't pay is because you don't have American money. The reason we can't pay is because we don't have American money. It's unequal. The most unequal place in modern history is America. So you have this group that has everything and is hoarding all the wealth and hoarding all the dreams. And this group, the bottom has nothing. And we're the bottom of the bottom. Like, we're not even just the bottom. We're like the big pot, and like the little bottom part at the bottom, that's us. You can't do anything with that. There is no stability. There is no life. There's no money. There's no wealth. There's no anchoring. There's nothing that can be done with that amount of money. Like, that's not real money. That's not American money. That's not, so you can't have a life. Certainly not an American life. Maybe you survive. But she didn't, like, older people don't understand because they didn't have it that way. These people worked jobs and at factories or whatever they did, and they just did the same thing every day and came home. And they had a life. They were able to buy property and do all kinds of stuff. They don't understand how life has changed for us. And that's because they didn't keep learning. They didn't keep, like, accessing information and reading every day and reading. They just started living like a life, like they live like aristocrats in terms of, I don't have to know nothing. I'm just going to come home, chill out, have a beer. I'm going to watch a little news. No, I don't even think most of them did that, but I'm going to watch a little TV. I'm going to watch the game. I don't have to do much of nothing. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to do much of anything. I don't have to access and figure out how life is changing so I can do politics in a way that is beneficial for my children and my grandchildren. I don't have to do all that. Everything's good. This is America.
Yvette, do you think that we, people in the 30s and 40s, do you think that the only thing that we're going to be able to do is just basically disrupt? Like, since the older people will not get on board, we're just gonna have to disrupt.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna. Yeah, because I don't think you're gonna get the most of them. I don't think you're gonna get the majority of them on board. I don't think so, because they had a good life, so they're not believing that life's not good anymore. Like, they base everything. What I find with so many old people.
That's you hit the nail on the head.
And that's what you see with, like, Dr. Worrell. He doesn't understand reparations. He doesn't understand how the world has changed from the time where he was advocating or whenever to, like, 2019 and what's happened. Like, he hasn't read Piketty's book. I guarantee you that. So you're just going based on an ideology. This is an ideology I believe in. I'm gonna stick with it. That's not how life works. You got to be way more nimble than that. You got to know a lot more than that. to understand like the impediments to what you believe in terms of your Pan-Africanism right now. You need to know a lot more than you know, and you need to be a lot more intellectually nimble than you are. And the fact that you aren't is a problem. And I think you have to, we are going to have to just disrupt, because these people are not going to, they believe life is good because life was good for them. They haven't really accessed the data and the charts about how life has changed since they retired or since they whatever. And like, that's what it is. That's what it is.
All right, I appreciate you taking
No
my
problem.
call.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate you.
All right, you have a good evening.
You too. I am going now to I'm going to 205. 205. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Yes, my name is Joshua.
Hey, Joshua.
I'm from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Okay.
Yeah, I like to say, first of all, I like to start with a quote from Malcolm X.
Okay.
Malcolm X said, if we understood what revolution meant, we wouldn't even say a word. We wouldn't even mention the word revolution. He also said a revolution is bloody. I think we're even, all of us, when we use that word, we like to sugarcoat that word. And I just, rest in peace to Gavin and Mike Xavier Johnson. I don't think other people even have a right to call themselves revolutionary or whatever. They're diplomats also. Diplomats are important in the movement. You have revolutionaries and diplomats. But I like to also say that I don't want us to underestimate how a lot of adults still have a high school mentality. I know I have went door to door, in my neighborhood, promoting Breaking Brown. I talked to them about it amongst my family.
Okay.
I spread your message on Facebook.
Thank you.
Even back when you was at numbers like 5,000 subscribers. You see what I'm saying? Just going in every day, just trying to promote your message. But a lot of people will ignore it just to spite us. They're not going to get on until the mainstream get on. But Martin Luther King did not have a lot of people who supported him back during his time. Only after they seen how he was successful, everybody pretended to always co-sign him.
Yep.
And to the Pan-Africanists, I would just like to say, nothing is wrong with Pan-Africanism. Hey, nothing is wrong with it. I understand where they're coming from. Dr. Jeremy Clark, long legacy of Pan-Africanism been in our community. But I think we need to stop being childish. If we're going to be Pan-Africanists, let's be Pan-Africanists with the resources. Africans helped to slave us and sell us over to America. We want reparations from America. Why we don't have any access to the oil reserves, the gold mines, and the platinum mines over there in Africa, so we can all benefit from it as a collective. The same way we have a right to the cotton industry in the United States because we built that industry. The same way we have a right to the chicken industry, which makes $360-something billion annually because they rationalized our genocide by dehumanizing us in cartoons and propaganda with images of us eating chicken and watermelon, etc. And that's all I like to say, Yvette.
Oh no, I appreciate you. I think you have a point. I think Dr. Derry kind of raised an interesting question in terms of which African country will fight for our reparations, right? Because I think people say when people tell me, well, Yvette, black immigrants don't get anything. I'm like, you got something. You're here. Like, you live a life, and we always show up for you. Like, when anything happens with the police or whatever, we come through. And we should come through. I believe we should. I agree with the fact that we come through with you. But I'm saying that what you're saying basically is there has to be an exchange. Like, we have
I'm saying we have a right to some of those oil reserves.
Yeah.
They
got to give as good as they get.
Some of those raw resources they have.
Yeah. Well, I think the Chinese got, or the Americans, or the Westerners got. But see, let me just say this.
They have a lot of military power. We can, hey, whatever they get it done. I leave that to the politicians how to get it done. But our demand should be we should have access to those resources in the continent that they sold us from.
Let me just say this, fam, and I'm gonna let you go. I appreciate you calling in. When you look at a lot of these African countries with the most resources, like you can look at Nigeria with all the oil reserves and all that stuff. They don't even take care of their own Nigerians. Like it's Nigeria has awful income inequality in terms of it's right around there with India, in terms of we have the worst because we're wealthy. So billionaire here and nothing here. Understand that they have a disastrous people living on like $1.60 a day, and they have all those reserves. I'm telling you, I agree with what the caller said, but if you're not doing anything for your own people, that's supposed to be those of your fellow Nigerians. If you're not doing, if you as a government are not helping them, I know doggone well you never gonna help me as a government. Like they never, and so like the idea that I'm gonna have some kind of hope in Pan-Africanism, when like the Nigerian people can't even have hope in their own government, just doesn't make any sense. So fam, we're about at the 2-hour mark. I'm gonna take one last call. I'm going to 301. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, evening, Sister Yvette. How you doing? This is Marshall calling from the DMV, right outside D.C. How you doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm good, sister. I'm good. There's been some fire callers tonight, so I'm going to keep it quick. The brother who came on before me started with a Malcolm X quote, so I'm not going to go into Malcolm X, but getting back to this picture with Sheila Jackson Lee and John Legend, right now in this social media age, I think we, as you said before, we lean too heavy on celebrity sponsorship and we just drool over celebrities, and anytime we can attach ourselves to them to get anything done, it seems as though that we do it in the most fantastical way without really thinking if these people are going to be on our side. When I saw that picture, I was thinking of the last time that we had any type of law or anything for black people or anything that was based in blackness go through Congress. It was the MLK holiday. And remember, the big push behind that was the song by Stevie, the Happy Birthday song by Stevie Wonder. But what happened was that, to get this law passed, to get the holiday passed, you basically had to go through all of the organizing and all the things that it took to get it passed. And what sweetened it, like the strawberry on top or the cherry on top, was Stevie Wonder's song, and it gave it that groundswell. We don't necessarily, you can't necessarily do that at the beginning, and especially with people who aren't savvy politically or know what's going on. You can't just reach out to them before you really give them a blueprint of what it is they're doing. And as you and Tone have so brilliantly laid out, HR 40 right now is bare bones. So you need to be really getting with the economists and the historians, as you said, to really push this through and not really be going after celebrities and how Sheila Jackson Lee and so many people are just doing this sloppy, and it's very scary how they're handling it. And I'm so glad that you and Tone and Dr. Derry are, making us really, giving us master classes in political science and how we should be approaching these things. Real quick, I just want to say that most people who are complaining about how ADOS is going about bringing about reparations, they are not versed in law. They are not versed in economics. They are not versed in politics. So, unfortunately, what we're going to have to be doing, instead of entertaining them, is basically, what's your plan? And if it's just some fantasy thing with, Pan-Africanism, even like I said before the last call, I really don't have anything wrong with Pan-Africanism, but when it comes to Pan-Africanism, it's such a global groundswell, and right now, Pan-Africanism can't work for us because truly the government, and you mentioned this before, governments who, we want to get with to deal with their resources, they ain't ready. The richest country and one of the poorest countries in the world, matter of fact, the two poorest countries in the world right now are the Democratic Republic of Congo and Nigeria. They are so resource rich, but they don't have the government structure to take advantage of their own resources. And right now, the Chinese are so deep into their countries. How can we have a solidarity with them? Not so much culturally and, but I mean, just politically and economically, it's almost as if we can't even reach out to your governments because they're now being compromised by money that the Chinese are coming in with. The youngest country in the world is South Sudan, rich in oil reserves. Guess who's over in their country right now? The Japanese, because they're following the example of the Chinese all over Africa. So, I mean, what can you do right now? It's just not savvy for us to be on this fantasy Pan-Africanism tip when we really, as you brilliantly explained, we have to really take care of our own here, and then they got to play catch up. For us to be Pan-Africanists, we got to catch up with. They have to play catch up to us right now, and we just can't do that. And really, real quick, for all my Pan-Africanists out there, there was Henry McNeil Turner. He was basically, if you want to call him the father of American Pan-Africanism, you basically can. This is the man who called the American flag a dirty rag. Now, he said this in the late 18 or early 1900s, and of course, what was happening, then, we're just coming out of slavery, with, the beginning of Jim Crow, right after Reconstruction, but he tried to immigrate and use his power, whatever little power he had, to immigrate back to Africa. But one of the things that was a deterrent to his cause was that poor black people were his main push. And when some of the people who wanted to immigrate to Africa went, they couldn't support themselves. It's a lot like what's happening today because of this racial financial gap. Even if we wanted to, we're not in a position to do it. So we have to be more savvy to come about getting reparations and how we want it. And we just can't play these Wakanda fantasy games. I mean, culturally you could be a Pan-Africanist, but right now we just got to be savvy with it. And I just wanted to end on that. Good night, sister. And wonderful show again. Peace to the Break Around Tone Talk family, and always you're giving master classes in political science. Just keep it up.
I've not only have I worked on the Hill, but I've always politics has always been my passion. So so that should be any surprise to anybody. Like you gotta want to be in this space. So nobody can force you in this space. One of the things that I want to say too, and to the caller's point, when you talk about Pan-Africanism, one of the things that I really want people to drive home is that even if to have Pan-Africanism, it's funny that it was initially led so much by, us here, Black Americans, but also really, really, for the most part, a large push in terms of Caribbeans. And I think that had it really backward anyway. Like any kind of Pan-Africanism needs to be led by Africans, people who live in African countries. Various African countries, and unify Africa as a continent. So all these 54 countries have to unify a unified Africa. Then you can talk to us. Like nobody's in a place to talk to us about that anyway. We're nowhere near any kind of Pan-Africanist reality. Nowhere near that. Nobody is even shown, like, for the most part, an interest in that. I see much more of an interest to be like Western super capitalists and have our kids school in London than actually, like, some kind of Pan-Africanist identity. So I think we kind of believe in something that only exists on the margins. And so we try to make that a reality here so we can anchor ourselves in something that's really just not true. So fam, as we go out, please do not forget to finish your libation. No. Please. But finish your chamomile. But please do not forget to hit the like button for me. And don't forget, August the 1st. We're going to talk about how the Irish became white, because whiteness is not just a color or complexion. It's a very complex thing. So we're going to have that conversation on August the 1st. That's a Thursday. Please do not forget to tune in for that, and make sure you look at the book and all that kind of stuff. Read the book. Somebody put a link in there about, I don't know whether it was like audio was free or whether there was a link to the book, but something was in the show where I announced the book that was a comment in there. I meant to pin it to the top. I don't know. I think I forgot. But yes, so do that. Please hit that bell if you have not hit that bell. If you have not hit that bell to get notifications, please do that. If you have not subscribed, please do that. You can also go to subscribetobrown.com and just hand me over your email address. I rarely use it, but I would like to have it on hand just in case anything goes down. As usual, also, you can go to donatebrown.com or patreon.com/ycarnell. I'll be sending off a few more shirts tomorrow. Just so you know, if you haven't gotten it, you should be getting that in the batch this week. So fam, until next time, Please do your politics, do your research. Do not be upset. Do not be bothered. And do not make these people make you feel any way that you do not want to feel. Do not let them get in your emotions and get you upset and get your blood pressure high. I want you to take a shower. If you're in a warm place, it's almost summertime. It feels like summertime where, in a lot of places, but it is almost, what is it? Is it spring? Do we have summer yet? Anyway, I want you to take a warm shower and get under a fan. Okay? And relax yourself. Do not be bothered. So we will talk next time, fam. Appreciate it.